Action. Comedy. Palace intrigue. Story Squad presents Clash of the Pencils. Welcome to another cold fall 56 night here in Milford, Delaware. Great lineup of stories for you here at Clash of the Pencils. Will Racontus be able to repeat a back-to-back weekly title? Will Slam escape the surly bonds of second place? Or will Joanna Man break in and play spoiler for the day and the week for any of these folks out here tonight? Only those answers can be answered after a Clash of the Pencils nightly live stream, the most watched creative writing esport league live stream in the history of the internet. I am your host, Tom Sherman. We're here as we are every weeknight to review the top 3 short story submissions from around the net, get the latest scores, see who's atop the leaderboard, and of course, review the top 5 sentences of the night. So a quick reminder to all the folks out there how to play. Each night at the end of our live stream, we will reveal tomorrow's prompt. And then all you have to do is handwrite a quick one-page story, take a picture, snap it, send it in, and then boom, you are in the game. Every day we field anywhere between 0s and 10s of submissions, which then get run through a high-tech data science algorithm known as Storybot 3000, which uses, among other things, burned rice to analyze every story for character, plot, and setting. We then take Storybot's top 3 picks and let you, the public, decide tonight's winner. So alongside me today, we have a certified Master of English by the Bread Loaf School of English. It's not the baker. It's not the egg beater. It is Greg, the reader, Peterson. What are we reading? Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
This was a new era with new men and new methods. Think of drinking milk at work when everyone knows that even a cow would rather die of thirst than touch a drop of the stuff. Hey, Tom.
That's a good point. If the cows aren't drinking it, it makes you wonder.
Doing?
Yes. I can see why you're focused here on thirst and beasts of burden, because tonight's prompt, what is the origin of the phrase "the straw that broke the camel's back"? So, are you thinking it's a straw into a glass of milk? Is that where you would go with this prompt?
Interesting. Perhaps subconsciously, I use this phrase all the time. Twice a day, 3 times a day. Never thought once what it could possibly mean. Never thought about the origins. I'm really interested in the backstory tonight.
Well, backstory you will get. But before we get to that backstory, let's give some of the people out there a little bit of the backstory, what all these authors are playing for tonight. And that's one of these, an exclusive IOU NFT. This is a unique 1 out of 10. Yeah, that's a great whistle. Yeah. All right. This 1 out of 10,000 NFT is actually an IOU for a future NFT from an upcoming 10,000 drop from Story Squad. Although the current estimated cash value of the IOU NFT is $100 US, that's not quite the full value of NFTs. Think of NFTs like keys to the future. Right now, as humans, we interact with businesses and organizations much like ants might their queen, slaving away day in and day out for resources to give to the queen so that she may survive. NFTs turn this one-directional relationship into a community partnership. Owning NFTs of organizations will allow those owners special perks like early access to future products, exclusive content behind paywalls, and access to the inner community. Not only that, but NFTs are transferable, allowing owners to sell at a premium, which in turn appreciate all other NFTs held by community members. So NFTs are part art, part online identity, part admission to a virtual country club, part crypto speculation, part generational wealth, and all real, baby. So there you have it. I mean, these are highly desired NFTs, believe it or not. And
conceptually, they're gaining a richness between human imagination and cold hard robots in a way that I'm elated by.
I mean, check this out. We've got people demanding give Slam and NFT. Like, people are out here supporting. I'm just here to support Slam.
Wow.
This is coming in from Facebook. Yeah, so people are out here demanding NFTs for some of these authors. It's becoming quite a cultural phenomenon.
Storybot versus Slam Friday night.
So
exciting.
Yes, let's give a little context on the week. Slam is up on the week with 560 points above Rack and Toos and Slice. But really, Slam has been getting second place all week long, not been able to win the daily prize. Yesterday, writing a story about that struggle and accusing Storybot 3000 of having a directive to place Slam in second place every time.
Slam equals second.
And now
in the
it's
algorithm.
Slam versus the machine, and obviously the people's champion out there, according to Facebook. Just here to support Slam. So interesting stuff here. We've got some action. So that's the daily and the weekly. We've got that. All we need to do now is start looking at these submissions that the videos that Storybot produced from the top 3 picks. So let's start with the newcomer to the podium tonight, Joanna Man.
Load her up, Scotty, bellowed Richard to his lackey. And hurry it up, too. 1, 2, 1, 2. Time is a-tickin'. Scotty, in his well-worn plaid chamois and steel-toed boots, grunted as he stooped down to lift up the sack of cauliflower heads. Scotty was as strong as an ox, and looked like it too. He had difficulty finding shirts that could accommodate his biceps fitting into the sleeves, and broad enough to squeeze around his bulging shoulders and chest. Scotty grimaced as he hoisted the bag all the way up and onto the camel's back. Thwack! That was the sound of cauliflower heads hitting other cauliflower heads. The camel shifted its feet under the additional load. Scotty had started working for Richard 7 seasons ago. Richard offered him a fine wage, a meal at the end of every shift, and a set of regular hours. Who was he to begin questioning some of Richard's practices, like why he was even had camels and chose to use them on the farm to haul things versus the more commonly used horse, ox, or truck? It had initially seemed peculiar to Scotty when he was in his first season on the farm, but now it just felt normal. Get a move on, Scotty! Richard was clearly in a rush today. All that was left was a bale of hay to load onto the camel. Scotty took a look at this one-humped camel's back to determine where there was room to place this last load. He was going to have to put it in between the hump and the next area. He bent down to pick up the hay bale, but not before the camel turned its neck around and flashed its mangled teeth menacingly at Scotty. Up the hay bale went, and down it crashed onto the heads of cauliflower on top of the camel. The camel stuttered, and then the camel's back cracked in two, and water came squirting out of its hump.
All right, a strapping farm laborer loads cauliflowers onto a camel, not thinking to question why this situation was normalized to him. After his impatient boss orders a last hay bale atop the camel gives a maniacal look, causing the laborer to drop that bale too hard atop the cauliflowers, cracking the camel's hump. Not a lot of action here, reader, but seems steeped in metaphors.
It does seem steeped in metaphors. I'm interested in this lackey character. It's a cauliflower farm with some hay, and they're using camels, and the lackey's been there for 7 seasons. They don't use horse, ox, or truck. It's not like this is ancient. This is a very the straw that broke the camel's back is from the time of trucks. Mm-hmm. I was interested. I got most excited about the wordplay on the back, thwack. That was the sound of cauliflower heads slamming into other cauliflower heads.
That's what did it for you.
That drew me into the story.
Interesting.
Yeah, this was a bizarre meditation on the nature of labor and surveillance. What else can you have it? The straw that broke the camel's back, I think, is being watched and forced to load every bit onto this beast of burden. And I think all of us feel that all the time. So it's an old-fashioned sounding idiom, but it feel like it's now something that's as relevant as it's ever been.
Especially considering that this the technology of the beasts of burden was chosen to be obscure. You know, there's better options. There's horses, there's oxen, there's trucks. Yet you're going to pick a camel and a guy that's built like an ox. I thought that was interesting too, where Scott was almost an ox. Because he was just as built as an ox. I'm not quite sure what the cauliflowers meant, but they meant something, and I'm
maybe
interested.
It's knowledge work. Maybe it's knowledge. Time's a ticking.
But yeah, a strong start here of the night from Joanna Man, and let's see where else it can be taken. Let's get Slam's take here on this prompt.
Okay, kids. Grandpa will tell you one more story, and then you'll have to get to bed. Are you ready? We were at war. Back then, most men addressed me as Sir or General, but the fellows under my command took to calling me Jumpin' Jim. See, I had a nasty habit of taking combat jumps with them. A general cannot ask a soldier to do which he himself is not willing to. I found myself willing 4 times during World War II. The war was full of ugly, but General Erwin Rommel was a general and icon of the ugliest army to ever don a military uniform. From 1941 to 1943, he led German forces in northern Africa and earned himself a reputation as an adept desert strategist and amateur camel enthusiast. We wanted him gone. So you can imagine the relief when my boys strafed his staff car outside of Normandy only weeks after D-Day in July 1944. The general was thrown from his vehicle, and there he was, suspended in midair like Wile E. Coyote dangling just beyond the lip of a cliff. For a moment, death's kinetics froze. Rommel's personal effects went out with him, a folder of war papers tucked underneath his arm, an immaculately polished Walther P38 pistol on his hip, and an oversized African camel hoof bulged from his back pocket, which he kept for good luck. The Nazis were a superstitious bunch. The general eventually hit a tree, slumped sideways, and suffered a broken skull and spine. He was evacuated, but his property was confiscated by Allied Grand Forces. I'm embarrassed to admit it now, but in the heat of the moment, I wanted a war trophy. That's when I grabbed the headset. I shouted over the radio, "Get me the camel claw that broke Rommel's back! I repeat, get me the claw that broke Rommel's back!" Well, the comms were staticky. They couldn't hear a darn thing. Apparently, what the boys heard on the other end was, "That was the straw that broke the camel's back! I repeat, that was the straw that broke the camel's back." I didn't get my trophy, but the expression stuck. People thought that Rommel's demise was the proverbial last straw. The Times front page led with the misquote the following day. The rest is history. Good night.
All right. A grandfather tells his grandkids one last story before bedtime, his World War II memories. This general teaches the kids a quick lesson about leading by example before telling of them the time his men shot the infamous Desert Fox's motorcade, which expelled Rommel into a tree, back broken by what turns out to be an unlucky camel hoof carried by Rommel. The general grandpa demands that the war token be confiscated by the responding Allied troops, but is misheard as giving a rousing cheer of excitement, and then that misremembrance is misremembered and published a war trophy of his own before wishing the kids good night.
Slam's not giving up. This I thought that last night was going to be the straw that broke Slam's back, but no, he came back with a fury. That is certainly respectable. I want to know what kind of dreams that the children are about to embark upon. If this is the last thing that they are consciously being sent to sleep with. I like the good night at the end. It brought it full circle for me that this was sort of a nested storytelling, like a frame. We get this Jumpin' Jim, and it sounds like Jumpin' Jim was a good general. B had an extraordinary story about Rommel, and the desert strategist and camel enthusiast who kept an oversized camel hoof for luck on his person. You don't think of the Nazi leadership as interested in inefficient like luck charms, but that was a delightful humanizing little detail that then led to the misattribution of the quote over the static. I'd say the setting was really strong because of that element. It was unexpected throughout. The plot seemed like it accelerated. I think there was quite a bit of plot here in a one-page story. We changed scenes several times. The moment the death's kinetics froze was a sentence that really popped out to me. The P38, we get some very good details. So I think this is a tight triangle, character, plot, and setting. Hats off to Slam.
Yeah, no, great work here by Slam, and as you can tell, obviously making the cheering section go wild. Slam, he's our man, coming in from loud and clear from the Facebook stream. So, yeah, that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be tough to beat if. And we've got one more story on the podium before we reveal who the winner is. So let's check out Raconteuse. In the top slots as well. Pat struggled to cinch his tan satchel. "You carry too much," his mom scolded. "It's all this homework, Ma. Too much and you'll break it," she continued as if she hadn't heard. Pat closed his tawny tote, but it was barely hanging on. He ran to meet his friend Willie at the corner. They met there every day to walk to school. Willie loved boats, but he did not love school. He was always making mischief. As the morning droned on, Pat's buff bag bulged beside his desk. Finally, time for lunch. The boys headed down to the noisy cafeteria. They took their trays from the counter and settled into their seats at a long table. Pat was still grappling with his sandy school bag. Along with friends Todd and Chris, Pat and Willie scarfed down their PB&Js and argued the finer points of WWE. Willie, as he often did, got restless. He grabbed a bunch of straws from the utensil station. He tore a bit of paper off the straw and blew. The straw skin hit Todd in the face. "You point that thing somewhere else," he exclaimed. Willie found his next target and blew. The straw casing landed on Pat's khaki knapsack and it burst wide open. It was the straw that broke the camel backpack. All right, a boy Pat struggles all day with the stress associated with his tan backpack stuffed to the brim with homework. First, his mom adding some metaphorical baggage, foreshadowing the bag near bursting. Let's see, after walking with his rambunctious friend to school, the bag is then seen again bulging at the seams under his desk. And then during lunch, Pat wrestles with the bag while the other boys wrestle with wrestling analysis, until Willie can no longer take school and blows straw wrappers at friends, one landing on the bag, and that was the final straw.
Raconteuse has a real gift for alliterative wordplay. The tawny tote, the boys' bags bulged, the sandpaper-colored school bag. That really sort of just the lyricism drew me into the story. I loved the opening. "You carry too much." Like, it's setting the scene aggressively to the prompt immediately that then pays off at the end, which I think is a good way to get the plot. As it's very quick. Willie loved boats, but he did not love school.
Great.
I mean, we all know that's a deep. I experienced that very viscerally and deeply.
Mhm.
That we get the wrestling, that it didn't quite have the world building that Slams had, but it had the straw that broke the camel's back. I think it was equally clever in how it was deployed.
Mhm.
The it seemed to me though that carrying too much, this story and the first story were about sort of human limits of how much they can carry, right? There
Hmm.
it's like I feel like this straw that broke the camel's back, that's a ready-made expression that we can all kind of enter into because we're all juggling about as much as we can keep in our working memories. And it's only gotten more intense, even though it's an old-fashioned saying.
Mhm.
Seems like it's gotten more intense right now with just how much stuff we're juggling, side hustles, side
Right.
projects. I'm a little on the soapbox here, but it does seem like school has gotten too they're carrying too much in the backpacks. I don't know if you've
Right.
ever been to a school, but there are spinal issues with alignment because there's too many books. We're stuffing too much, too much.
I've been known to go to a school every now and again, once or twice in my day. But yeah, not recently, so I don't know. I thought the bag as a character was kind of great. Like this bag, it was always there, and it was always like a presence that this poor kid was wrestling with and awkwardly trying to wrangle into the right spots. I thought like the tension of the plot could have been like highlighted a little bit more and like added to if it's like in that first classroom, like he has to add another sheet of paper to it, and it's like the seams stretch a little bit more, or like, you know, on the walk to school, Willie the prankster puts his like breakfast trash in the backpack, and it's just like, you know what I mean, like, so throughout the story kind of tease out how it's like bursting, bursting, bursting. It just gets keeping added to until that final straw paper just like completely obliterates it. But it was a great story. I thought it was also interesting that none of the well, only one of the stories really was actually regarding putting straw on a camel's back. Otherwise, the authors took it divergent places, which is always fun to see.
Yeah, we were in a World War II kind of flashback. We were in from Grandpa. We were
Mhm,
in a school that seemed to be near a harbor and
mhm.
a coastal school situation.
Right.
And then we were also in a very old-fashioned farming situation.
Yet very close by to normal society, it seems.
Right, with trucks
Yeah.
as possibilities. Maybe like an
Right. And
Amish
horses,
vacation.
but like, and horses too. It was just a
Yeah,
camel farm, camel
yeah.
cauliflower farm. I
Mhm.
don't. Yeah, that was. Again, there's layers in that one. We'll try to get to the bottom of that one day, but not today. Because look, this has all been pointless. This is my favorite part of the night. Like, like none of this matters. What you and I are talking about, what we've done here with these triangles, dropping marshmallows on the nacho cheese Dorito. Um, that's all just fun and games, and what really matters is what America thought, and or the internet at large, excuse me. And all we have to do to find that out is I'm going to click this button and then hit refresh on the
Is
page over
is
here.
Slam's story gonna get the glory?
Is he going to escape second place? Is Racontus going to win the weekly title? What is happening? Weekly Slam on top. Look at this, 700 points, besting Racontus by over 90 points here. 609 for Racontus. Slice at 577. Joanna Man solidifying their spot over Squirtle with tonight's entry. So wow, what a great finish to the week on the top five. But this is what the people want to see, right? Is
Today's
the day.
story.
What is happening today? And boom, look at
Juana
that.
Man!
Joanna Man, the largest triangle of the night, pulls an upset.
Slam is a
Unbelievable.
bridesmaid. Forever a bridesmaid.
Slam in second place. That's why they call him second place Slam. But one
All the way
day,
to the top of the weekly leaderboard, though.
what, you know, and that's what goes to show this is a marathon, not a sprint. You can get second place day in and day out for 5 nights in a row and still be on top. I mean, you know, I think Racontus won twice this week, or at least once. Same with Slice and Joanna. Like, But here we go. Slam getting a weekly NFT, and Joanna Man getting the daily NFT. And you know what's interesting? Next week we're gonna give away number 50. Actually,
Number
the
50.
50th
We're giving away
of the
50
IOU.
NFTs? How can we afford that?
We can't actually. That's the funny part. I'm gonna have to talk to you later about that. But here's what the authors are going to be talking about this weekend. A little fuzzy creature the size of a human fist appears before you and eats all your chocolate wafers.
That is oddly specific.
That sure is. Don't you hate it when that happens?
Always.
That's every time. Speaking of a little fuzzy creature that eats all your chocolate wafers, let's talk about the top 10 sentences of the week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is going to be big. Number 10 from Raconteuse. Willie loved boats, but he did not love school. He was always making mischief.
Yeah.
That's
like
a good
that
one. That's old
Wrote
Willie.
that one down.
Number 9 from Slice. Dogs are supposed best friends turned coat. They favored whoever or whatever was in charge, I guess. Back when the dogs sold us out to the cats, and the rest is history there. Number 8 from Slam. For a moment, Death's kinetics froze.
Yeah. Visceral. That was like, I could see that in the movie. In my head.
Number 7 from Slam again. Storybot submitted the story, and wow, it's wonderful. It's moving. It's a triumph on ingenuity, and it's second place. Rules are rules.
It's a prophecy.
You know, I really hope Slam didn't hardcode that into Storybot 3000 with that sentence.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see next week. Number 6 from Raconteuse. Trilby looked around nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. Just a nice little, what is that? That's a metaphor. No, simile. That's a simile right there.
As.
As.
I had to go through it. I was like, it's in there. So like or as somewhere deep.
One of those two. Number 5 from Slice. He showed a fragrant disregard for hygiene.
Feeling that one pretty viscerally some days too.
Yeah, that sounds like a Friday to me. Number 4 from Slam. In the floral game, they call your first your spark flower, the plant that roped you into the unforgiving world of show flowers.
Also a prophecy.
Also a prophecy from Slam's first story in the Clash of the Pencils Thunderdome. Just great. You know, it's got a little character, it's got a little setting, it's got a little plot, all wrapped into one. Number 3 from Champion. Horse hockey, I yelled, standing up from the parliament seat my family occupied since the night of the fangs in the 1940s, but immediately fall on my belly, writhing around, unable to move my limbs. Wow, a lot going on there. And number 2 from Raconteuse. At the Academy, they called him Whiskers because he was curious like a cat, they said, and they always laughed. Some joke he didn't understand. That was Whiskers being curious as a cat, and then therefore overthrowing the cats with his fellow feral humans and Academy-trained humans alike. Number 1 from Squirtle. You realize all the goals, the narratives, the activities, the books, the passionate relationships, the endless days and nights of thinking, striving, conniving, comparing, swearing. It's all been blind wandering.
That's not autobiographical. That's not about this live stream. I don't know what he's talking about.
That can't be. And that can't be what Storybot is telling us, with that being the number 1 sentence of the week.
Yeah, there's no signal there.
There's no signal.
All the sentences of the week, that's the one, Storybot? What are you saying?
Interesting. Interesting stuff there. So I think that's it. I think that wraps up another round of the Clash of the Pencils nightly live stream. So join us next week at the same time, same place. And until then, we'll see you out on the paper. Do you want to participate in the Clash of the Pencils and Story Squad universe? It's easy. Join us on Twitter or in our Discord server at Story Squad HQ. There's lots of ways to participate. Draw some fan art. Play our addictive game of jokes and master strokes, Word Hoax. Or join Greg's monthly book club. And as always, remember to pay your cat tax. Money, fame, and love can all be found here at Story Squad.